We decided to directly employ people to be Jack's supports. We were looking for a sports coach. Jack does a lot of different types of sports in the community, but often he would find it difficult to keep up with other kids. So we wanted that coach to sort of be helping him skill up, particularly around soccer. And he also does jiu-jitsu, which he never wanted us to be involved in, and that was fine. He's a 13-year-old boy, but he did need a little bit of support every now and again throughout the jiu-jitsu sessions, because he would sometimes take himself out of it and just needed that encouragement to get back and get involved.
Self-managing the NDIS funding is quite exciting when you get involved in it, but to start off with it can seem quite difficult. And I think a lot of people will come out and say that it's a very difficult process, but if you can just break it down to one step at a time, the process becomes quite manageable.
When we went about directly employing somebody to be Jack's sports coach, we did a lot of thinking about the types of things or the type of support that the sports coach would provide for Jack. And we did a lot of thinking around, who that person would be, what type of characteristics were we looking for, and then out of that evolved the ad that we used.
Yeah, so the first thing that I did was download the workbook that the NDIS puts out, and I think I let it sit on the table for a little while, but as we got closer to the meeting, I used that to write down some of our goals, and the NDIS also sent through some other planning tools with the information that they sent out once they confirmed our appointment.
You need to find somebody that's compatible with your vision. So in that respect, I guess you need a vision first. The next part of it will be finding somebody that's going to suit that particular vision to support the person you're organising this for or for yourself.
So we created a simple ad, just looking for a job. We wanted somebody that would be enthusiastic and love sport, in particular soccer and bike riding, that felt that they could, encourage Jack to develop his skills in these areas.
So one of the things I found really helpful was talking to some other families who were also developing their goals for their children, and thinking about how, talking to them about how they were thinking of using the NDIS.
So planning for the NDIS planning conversation, we did a lot of thinking around our vision for Jack, as this was our compass to help us make decisions along the way. We spent a lot of time with family and friends in thinking about how we can achieve the certain goals that we were aiming for Jack, and a lot of those were revolving around sport. Self-managing Jack's NDIS package is really not that complicated. If you are used to doing net banking and are willing to just put a bit of extra effort in initially, I think you'll find that it's quite easy to self-manage NDIS funding.
So the first thing will be getting the WPN, which is the withholder payment number, and that's not an ABN, it's a WPN. The second step will be to give the person that you're employing a tax file number declaration, and that you'll need to send off to the ATO with your WPN on that particular form. All these forms are available on the internet. Third step will be to work out whether you've got superannuation obligations, and if you do have superannuation obligations, you'll need to pay the person you're employing superannuation. So that can be a little bit tricky, because if you pay the person less than $450 a month, you don't have to pay any superannuation. If you decide that you want to pay that superannuation, you can, and that can be done through the superannuation clearinghouse with the ATO.
Okay. We chose to self-manage our funding because we realised that that would give us more opportunity to really have exercises sort of control and choice over supports that the NDIS offers, and it's been really beneficial. So we've been able to take advantage of a couple of opportunities related to our son's interests, and it's actually been surprisingly easy to do. For us, so far, it hasn't been more complex really than doing like paying a bill by net banking.
The next step that you'll need to do is to make sure that you've got workers' compensation insurance, and along with workers' compensation insurance you might need to get public liability insurance. An insurance broker will advise you on that. It tends to cost around about $1,000 up front, but that would vary depending on how much you're going to pay your particular person who's going to work for you. Once you've got all those things started, you can ask your person to come and work for you. With asking that person to work for you, of course, you're going to need a very clear job description. So what it is you expect from the person you're going to employ, what it is that you're going to pay them, and all those sorts of things.
So by self-managing, we can use our NDIS funds for support from sources that aren't registered with the NDIS. So otherwise we'd be limited to just getting support from providers who are registered with the NDIS.
Another aspect that you probably need to think about is occupational health and safety. So what are the risks that are going to be in front of the particular person that you're going to employ, and what can you do to mitigate that? So that might seem quite complicated, that there's quite a few steps to do there, but once you've got all those things in place, the only thing you really need to keep revisiting is your vision and the purpose and the role description of the person who you employ, and making sure that you keep that dialogue open.
So I would recommend to other families to look for these opportunities that are just in their local community, because now with the NDIS, there's a lot more scope for getting a little bit of extra support for people with a disability to access those opportunities.